Welcome to the Cowboy Entrepreneur Show, created and hosted by Scott Knudsen, to explore the crossroads of horses and business. Now here's your host, Scott Knudsen.
Hi, and welcome to the Cowboy Entrepreneur Show. I really appreciate you watching and listening to us, whether you're listening to us on KCAA, our NBC affiliate out in California, or if you're watching our podcast on one of our many platforms. We appreciate it so much. Today, we got a special guest, Jason Addams. He's the president and founder of BEX Sunglasses. And I happened to go in their showroom in Dallas, and it was just amazing, and couldn't wait to get Jason on the show. So, Jason, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me. Appreciate it, Scott.
Absolutely, man. I think we have a lot of common interests for sure. And let's just talk about the showroom real quick, and then we'll get into the fun stuff about horses and everything. Man, I loved it. There were so many styles, and there was so much activity there.
Yeah. The team that we put together over the last few years is doing a great job. You know, there's a lot of energy, a lot of passion for the product and what we're trying to accomplish. And so they do a phenomenal job.
Man, that's awesome. That's awesome. I'll tell you what, we walked in and they immediately said, that's a pair for you. And we tried them. It was perfect. You know, they know their business, and they were kind enough to give us a BEX cap. And I was wearing it the other day, and someone said, man, I love that brand. So you got a great following, and it was really cool to see, especially being up at the showroom. So that's kind of neat.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That's the goal. That's we have a lot of passion for the brand and also what comes with it, right? You don't get a great brand without doing the intangible things. So we focus a lot on that. So
well, you can definitely feel it, man. There was so much passion and energy, and it was a lot of fun. It was really a lot of fun. So how did you grow up? Did you grow up wanting to own a sunglass company and be an entrepreneur?
So I did grow up wanting to be an entrepreneur. I had a great mentor in that aspect, and he was upstairs. You know, my father was an entrepreneur, my mother was an entrepreneur, and so I had a firsthand lesson on the path to take as far as sunglasses and consumer product in general. My passion and love for that just developed over time. You know, from adolescence throughout my rodeo career, as a matter of fact. And I just, you know, my father was a contractor. My family's in real estate and development and everything like that. And my path is just a little bit different. I love consumer product. I have a fascination and a very keen understanding on how things are made. It interests me as well. So manufacturing was just a natural route.
Man, that's perfect. It was so cool that you had some mentors right there in the house. You know, that's a blessing for sure. Yeah,
absolutely. Huge blessing.
So when you told them sunglasses, what was their first impression?
My dad's first impression, my father's first impression was, first of all, he didn't believe me. You know, it was at a time in my life where I had just quit rodeoing and I didn't really know what the next step was going to be, and he didn't either. He just wanted me to do something, right?
Yeah.
So I told him sunglasses, and he started laughing, and he put his hand on my shoulder, and he said, "I don't know anything about sunglasses. I don't know anybody that knows anything about sunglasses, and therefore I can't help you. Good luck." That was it.
That was a lesson within itself.
A huge lesson. There's you know what, you just said a mouthful. That was probably one of the greatest things that ever happened, right? Is
Absolutely.
Just to have to dive in.
Yeah, head first, man. That's awesome. You know, it's awesome that he just said, I can't do it. You know, even though he was accomplished as an entrepreneur, you know, that's tough for an entrepreneur. They'll try and figure out a way, but he lets you know right from the get.
You know, he used to talk about, you know, everybody can use a little bit of help. Yeah. And there's a lot of truth to that. But sometimes the best help is no help at all, right? And especially with this generation that you have coming up, and the mentality of BEX has always been, we're a meritocracy. So even though my background or my family's background has been in construction and things like that, the way that we've always approached BEX is you got to eat what you kill. Nothing's given. We need to approach tomorrow with as much, if not more, tenacity than we did today, even if today is what got us to the finish line, right? And so just a lot of focus on continuing to do the job and do a better job each and every day. So
I love that, man. I love that. That should be every company's motto right there. Just do better, you know? And I love that. So growing up, where did you grow up? Did you grow up in agricultural, like a rural area, or were you more in the city, in the metro area?
I was born in Las Vegas, and then when I was in fourth grade, we moved out to a small farm town called Logandale. It's Moapa Valley, north of Las Vegas. There, it was actually a pioneer settlement by the LDS Church,
Okay.
and we still have no stoplights. My wife and I, we've been married 15 years now. We moved back to Logandale to raise kids. It's just a small, quiet farm town, right?
Love that.
Blue collar, just hard
Yeah.
working, a lot of ranching, a lot of roping.
You just said everything, man. That's perfect. That's
Yeah.
perfect. It seems like home. That describes our place, you know, it's no stoplight. And where my daughter went to school, there's a rodeo arena right outside the school. And when she was a kid, she said, Dad, it's like being at home, you know, because
Yeah.
that's what we do, you know? So what sports were you into rodeo as a youngster? Was it football, baseball? What were your choices?
So I love football, but rodeo was always my father grew up without a lot. It wasn't until later on in his life that he started to have a little bit of success with construction, things like that.
Mm, mm.
So he rode bulls and bareback horses. He couldn't afford a rope horse, right? So he would still enter the tie down roping and things like that. He would just borrow a horse. He always had a lot of passion for roping, but he rode rough stock. And then as his construction business started to have enjoy a little bit of success, he was able to buy a 2-horse bumper pull trailer and a team roping horse. And we were, about that time, we were just getting older, and everybody wants to be like Dad, right? For the most part. And so we would go to the ropings with him, and then naturally it just took hold. We started roping, and then when I was in 8th grade, he told Ren and I both that if we wanted to pursue this roping thing as a career, we were going to have to make the national finals. There was no in between. You were going to be that
Love
good,
that.
or you're going to go get a job. You're going to go dig ditches, right? And so we both said, yeah, we want to make the national finals. That's what we're going to do. And so luckily we were blessed and fortunate to be able to accomplish that goal. And then yeah, we've been around roping and rodeo and ranching my entire life. I like to tell people that my childhood was like the best of both worlds, right? It really was, for the sense of that. um, we my father grew up without a lot, and so
Mm-hmm.
our childhood, he still showed us that. I remember being with him and my grandpa, on the side of a house, or I mean, on a side of a mountain, or a side of hunting in Rangeley, Colorado, in a truck that is not supposed to be anywhere near that terrain, right? And then getting stuck and having to sit out there. I mean, my childhood was a little bit of a mix. I was raised the way that my father grew up, which was poor, but I was also raised with him enjoying some of the successes that he wanted to be able to pass down to us, because he never was able to experience that. And so it was really a great childhood.
Wow.
Learned a lot about kind of both sides, and so it was fun, a lot of fun.
Man, I love you said that, and I love how much each side of it meant. So when you went into BEX, did you? I know you pulled from that experience, but how did
100%.
you use the positive and the negative, which were both really positives, to build your brand?
I'll tell you what, the first thing, one of the most challenging things I think for us is, for me, it was just natural, but I think it's really hard for a lot of people is to approach it like you have nothing, right?
Mm-hmm.
My background and being able to build things and make things and just learn to work hard from the time I was a young man helped a lot. There was, when you're starting a brand like that, when you're starting a company, there's not a line out the door of investors and things like that want to help you. There just
No.
isn't, right?
Right.
And you spend a lot of time and energy hoping or wishing that these things are going to come along, and they're not. So in the end, you have to pull yourself up by your bootstraps anyways. That's how we approached it from the impetus, my wife and I, and my family. My family's been they've been huge supporters. They've been in our corner from day one. Every pair of glasses we've ever sold has my father's brand inside as a modicum of respect for what he taught us, right?
Love
And
that,
so,
man.
yeah, I mean, and there's a book by that Damon John. He's one of the Shark Tank gentlemen, and it's called The Power of Broke. And it's a great book, and it basically says that
Absolutely.
you can accomplish great things even without a lot, even with no money, without a big team. And there's a lot of truth to that. It's just mentally getting to that place. I think a lot of people would try and retire every other single option before they get to that place. We started there. I knew we didn't have any money. I told myself we didn't have any money. I told myself there wasn't going to be a big team. I told myself nobody from Oakley was going to want to quit what they're doing and come over to BEX. And so we just dug in and we went to work.
Man, I love that so much. And, I think it's a lesson for all the entrepreneurs that out there, because there's so many that see the BEX brand and they see success, but they don't know all the work that went into it. And that's what it is. It comes down to work and strategy and surround yourself with a great team. And I love the fact you put your dad's brand in that, because brand means everything. That's really cool. So
absolutely, brand is everything.
It really is, especially a generational. So what advice do you have for somebody that maybe doesn't have the startup capital, or maybe out there by themselves, like, hey, I got this great idea. Give me like something that they can hang on to, whether they're listening to us on the radio or watching this, just something to spur that, get them through the day, so to speak.
Yeah. Go get it. Go get it. And Elon Musk will say, all you have to have to be an entrepreneur or to start a great company is a good idea. And that's all it's, and then there's some effort and there's some work ethic and things that come with it. But I would say go get it. Right. Yeah. And I know that seems so simple. Show me, don't tell me. And that's another big one, is I think a lot of times, especially this day and age, everybody wants to talk about what they're going to accomplish. Right. Mm-hmm. And I don't mean that from a facetious or an arrogance perspective. I mean, just go do it, right? Because so many times, first of all, it's going to be harder than what you think. Everything takes longer than you think it's going to, and it's going to be more challenging. It's going to be more difficult. There's going to be roadblocks, and a lot of times you can't forecast those. They come out of nowhere and they hit you. They blindside you. So you take them as you go. But those things are going to happen, and look, it's going to suck. It's brutal. I could tell you story after story at BEX.
So hard.
I could tell you stories about how challenging it really, really is, and still is. I mean, you're never there, right? Especially if you're trying to become the type of company we want to be. I don't know that you're ever satisfied. I don't know that you're ever there. You never reach that precipice of the standard that you want to reach. You're always striving to reach that. But just go. You can do a lot with energy and passion and effort. I will take effort every time over talent and education. How much effort are you willing to put out, right? Because you can do a lot with that, more than I think it's really underestimated how much you can do if you really want something bad enough.
I love that, man. I love that so much. Just do it. But the effort is everything. And I agree with you 100%, man. I'd take that over a big diploma any day. If they want to try and have that try, they can do it for sure. Yeah. Golly, that's awesome. That's awesome. And I know people out there want to hear that or hear you say that at your level, especially in the sunglass world, but just as an entrepreneur itself, it's important for people to hear that.
Well, and here's the thing, at my level, I'm nobody, man. I really am not. We've accomplished some things. But I've made some mistakes, and we have a lot of work to do, right? And so, but I think in this world, our people like me, people like you, ranchers, rodeo cowboys. A diploma is great. Education is never to be discounted. Now, here's one place that I think in 2022, as an entrepreneur, if I'm saying I want to be an entrepreneur and I've identified that, then the idea is I'm going to try and take care of good business and be a businessman. does it make a lot of sense to go take out a lot of debt up front, right? This is the one thing that debt, don't get me wrong, is the road to wealth is paved with borrowed money. And so debt can be very advantageous, and it can be a great tool if used as such. But we all know that it can spiral out of control and it can get you in trouble a little bit. So you have to ask yourself, as a cowboy entrepreneur, great name of the show, is that the first thing I want to do, right?
Yeah.
Is to go take out a bunch of debt to get a diploma that I may or may not move. Now, I'm not saying that college and education is not a good thing, because I believe that it is. It teaches you good habits. There's a lot of good things in the curriculum, right? I think it comes down to the path that you're going to take long term. And for me, some of my greatest stories are back when I didn't have any money. I took an entrepreneurial class at the community college there in Las Vegas. It cost me $220. It was Intro to Entrepreneurship. It was a great class. I learned a lot of great things for $220, right?
Return on
investment. I didn't continue to pursue that. It was just a business decision. And the same thing, when every single sunglass we've ever designed is custom. So back then, SolidWorks, some of these 3D modeling software, these things are like 5 to 15. Back then, it was $15,000. I can't afford that. I couldn't afford a new pair of shoes at that time, right?
Yeah.
Just at the just kind of the beginning of BEX, and so we were able to take that college course, $200. We were able to get that $15,000 software as a student version. And by saving those costs, we were able to put it together. And I think that there's a lot of benefits that way for an entrepreneur.
Man, I love that you said that. There's good debt and bad debt. The return on investment in that one class is infinite.
100%.
So smart, so smart. So we're running up against a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about what your dad challenged you to was the NFR, the National Finals Rodeo. For someone that maybe doesn't know what that is, that's like the Super Bowl of rodeo. So he's like, you can rodeo, but you got to end up in the Super Bowl. So we'll talk and tell some rodeo stories and some horse stories right after this break.
Scott will be right back with more.
Hi, I'm Scott Knudsen, host of the Cowboy Entrepreneur Show, heard on KCAA Fridays, 3 p.m. Pacific. I'd like to talk to you about something I'm very passionate about. Those that know me know I love my coffee. In the morning, afternoon, and even late in the evening, I enjoy a good cup of coffee almost any time of the day. Now, my team at the Cowboy Entrepreneur Show has been working for several months on creating and introducing our own brand of coffee. We wanted to make sure that we got it just right. We don't want to put our name on anything unless we're 100% certain that it's the best product available, and we've finally done it. We have created a wonderful line of coffees, 13 fantastic flavors offered in whole bean, ground, and K-Cups, any way you like to brew your coffee. Now, each of our coffees carries our brand, the very same brand that we put on our horses, our trailers, and our chaps. So you know that this is a quality product. And we only use 100% Arabica beans, the very best beans available. Just listen to some of these wonderful blends and flavors. Jamaican Me Crazy, Honduran San Marcos, Chocolate Cherry Amaretto, Breakfast Blend, and my very favorite, Haley's Blend. A coffee so good, we named it after my daughter. You can order these coffees today by going online to javacowboy.com. That's javacowboy.com. And if you order today, you can get an extra 10% off your final purchase just by entering the promo code COWBOY on checkout. Remember, that's promo code COWBOY for an extra 10% off. Just go to javacowboy.com to order your coffee today. Hello, I'm Scott Knudsen, host of the Cowboy Entrepreneur Show. I want to tell you about a product I've tried and I love, and I feel the Cowboy Entrepreneur audience will as well. It's Rebellious Infusions. Rebellious Infusions, they're little packets of flavor. And it gets hot in South Texas, over 100 degrees every day. And I like my water, but it's water. So I use these infusions, put them in my water. It makes it cold. It's great flavor, 0 sugar, 0 calories. It's pure energy infusions. Rebellious Infusions. Go to drinkrebellious.com or on all social media platforms. Drink Rebellious. Hello, and welcome back to the Cowboy Entrepreneur Show. I'm your host, Scott Knudsen, here with Jason Addams, founder and president of BEX Sunglasses. So we were talking in the first segment about rodeo, and his dad said, you can rodeo, but you got to make it to the National Finals Rodeo, the Super Bowl of rodeo. So Jason, let's talk horses and roping and rodeo. two of our favorite subjects besides sunglasses. So did you rope in college to start preparing you?
Well, I started roping when we were young, and then I
Awesome.
actually wasn't planning on going to college, and just so happened uh, a gentleman by the name of Greg Rhodes had pulled me aside at the high school national finals there in New Mexico, and he asked me if I'd thought about college, and I told him a little bit, and he recruited me to WTC in Snyder, so I spent a year there.
Awesome. That's West Texas, correct?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Awesome, man. So you roped there for a year?
So I was there for a semester. I was there for a semester, a little over a semester. So it was a great opportunity. Greg Rhodes, he's a good man. And then
Right.
his approach to wasn't just rodeo. He would have us reading books. And at the time I was 17. So when I graduated high school, it was early. I went to school. So he has us reading Napoleon Hill. He has us reading Zig Ziglar. So his approach was really unorthodox, but I loved it. And it actually, thinking back, it set the table for a great foundation for me, because I still love to read today, and back then I didn't. So
That's awesome. Once again, it kind of happened to you again. When you were growing up, you saw both sides of the paycheck. Now you're seeing that as well, and reading Zig Ziglar as your team rope, and that's kind of cool. But mentally it helps you.
Oh, it was great. I mean, it was great.
Yeah.
He would tell you, all the boys that I've had come through, and all the, young ladies that I've had read this book have gone on to reach great things. And it was cool. I was forever thankful for those experiences.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So when you were team roping, were you a header, healer?
I was a header. I wanted to heel, but my brother is Randon Addams. He actually ended up going on to win the world championship in 2008 in Las Vegas. And we all joke about him being the favorite, right? And so he healed. No. Yeah, he healed. And so my options were limited. I roped calves, I tied down, and then I had steers for Randon.
I got you. Well, that's great, man. And team roping is such a big sport, and it just gets bigger every year. And what's so cool about it, it came from the ranching industry, and we still do that. That's what's so cool about it. The real life cowboys do it, and then the guys in the arena who are real life cowboys as well do it, just a little bit different. So it's neat how it is involved in such a big industry.
Yeah. Yeah, they do a great job with it.
Yeah, they sure do. And so when you made you were Rookie of the Year, I believe, right? Is that what I read on PRC, which is a huge accomplishment?
Yes, sir. Yeah, thank you. I was Rookie of the Year in 2003. So my college actually prepared me really, really well for that. So coming from Nevada, we had enjoyed some success, frequently. And then you come to Texas, and we got beat bad. So for that semester I was down, I don't think I won anything, right? It was a huge eye-opening experience. And so after that first semester, I withdrew from school, and I went home and I roped. I worked hard. Not that I hadn't always worked hard. I had to change. I had to adapt my game. And right. They talk about 21 days to form a habit and all these things. Well, I had roped a certain way forever, right? So when I went home, I completely changed everything so that I could reach a little bit more. I could be a little bit more aggressive. And so in a lot of ways, after college, it was almost like starting over. It was brutal. I mean, it was brutal. And we're talking going out there and trying new things, and I might miss every steer. I had a lot of practice, and I just had to keep telling myself, okay, we're doing something better. We're working towards something. And little by little, it started to improve, and was able to accomplish a lot of the things that I had set out to accomplish with changing my style of roping. Mm-hmm. And that year we set out and won the Rookie of the Year in the PRCA. So it was a really good ending to a difficult time professionally in terms of roping, because there was a lot of transition going on there, but it was a huge accomplishment from that aspect.
That's tough, Jason. When you're successful at a certain level, to get to that next level, and it's business too, to totally just gut it and then start over, that's tough on your psyche as well as anything else mentally. You know, you're like, I'm pretty good right here. I don't really want to lose all this and then try and do something better. So that had to help in business, so to go through that experience, because, you know, rodeo cowboys are entrepreneurs. You know, that's what they are. But now in your world, that had to help, wouldn't you think?
I think so. It was necessary.
Yeah.
It had to happen. There was no, for me, in able to be able to perform at the level I needed to be able to have a chance of winning in the PRCA. It was requisite. There was no way around it. Right.
To get to a certain level, you just had to. But that says a lot about your mental fortitude to do that, to take that risk, to leave really good to go to exceptional. That's tough. So what was it like, man, at riding out there for your first national finals? After your dad challenged you and you did it, was it just like a sigh of relief?
You know, I thought I would be really nervous. I was relatively young. You know, I wasn't super young. There's so many great athletes coming up these days. They seem to go from high school right into the NFR. I was 22, so I was still relatively young, you know, but for me, it was, I assumed I would be nervous, but when I rode into the box that first night, no nerves at all. I was calm and collected, and I remember having that feeling like the adulation of peace. You know, there was this adulation of excitement, and then there was just peace. There wasn't any nerves. You know, it was almost, and that's how I knew we were ready, right? Is, hey, you've worked your whole life for, you've practiced this moment, you've worked through it in your mind, you know, millions of times since the time you were roping the dummy as a boy to that moment, and it was just time to go react.
What a cool experience. And it's cool. Did it just slow down for you when you were in the box and just like have that tunnel vision? And it would just, you know, everybody strives for that as an athlete, for that perfect run, that perfect calmness.
It was great that way. You know, in hindsight, and obviously it's 2020, I didn't really stick to I tried to change a little bit when I got to Las Vegas. That my skill set doesn't just fit that arena perfectly, but at the same time, I didn't know that I might only have one shot at it. But what I did know is that I was dating what is now my wife. I knew that there was bigger plans for me in terms of starting a family, and the family business and some of those things. So I just wanted to try. I wanted to do it, even though it didn't really fit me. I wanted to kind of come outside of my shell, and we had a little bit of success, and it ended up only being the one time that I did qualify. So.
But still, man, that's awesome, man, because that beats a lot of people, and not really beats them, but it makes, you know, what you did encourage others, you know, like they can do it too, and that's what it's all about. So did you have a favorite horse? Got to ask.
I did have a favorite horse. His name was Geronimo, and he had the heart of a lion. He was kind of undersized a little bit. He could run really hard. And he was a great little horse. He really was. And he kind of had all those attributes of the Seabiscuits of the world. He didn't know he was little. And he was a winner. Yeah. Great mind. I mean, he was great minded. He could take it, and he was tough. And yeah.
That's really cool, man. I love the undersized aspect too, because, you know, those are my favorite horses. They're the ones that just have so much trying heart, you know. They naturally shouldn't be in that position, but they just somehow do it. You know, it's that underdog, man. I love that. And I read somewhere where, you know, you met your wife and 5 months later, y'all ended up getting married.
Yeah. Yeah. We dated for 3 months. And then 5 months after we dated for 3 months, and then I proposed to her. And then 5 months later, we were married in the temple in Las Vegas. Yeah.
That's really, I mean, my wife and I, we got married really quick too. It was like 5 or 6 months, you know, and I had to do it before she, you know, I had to marry up, you know, so I had to get it quick. But But that's
Yeah.
awesome. Let's talk about something else. I think, it's passionate for me. And when I read this on the bio, this probably stuck out more than anything is the mission trip to Mexico. Would you just mind sharing a little bit about what that was like and how you came to doing it and maybe some memories of that?
Yeah. So I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. People know that as Mormon or LDS.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're 18 now, it used to be 19. When I went, it was 19. But when you're 18, you have the opportunity to choose to go on a 2-year mission, and the first presidency will choose where you go, and they'll send you off, and you'll go preach the gospel to the world, right? And I have a brother that served in the Philippines. I have constituents and brother-in-laws that have sort of served everywhere from Brazil to Taiwan to Bulgaria, you name it. They send LDS missionaries there, and you'll know them because I was walking, but they're either walking or they're riding a bike. They have the helmets on, they have the white shirts, and then they have the black, right? A great experience. Great experience. It's one of those things that it's a pretty sacred experience in the terms of the things that you learn and the tender mercies that you see, right, from your Heavenly Father and things. But it will make a man out of you. It really will. Back then, you weren't allowed to call home other than twice a year. Now they've changed that a little bit, which I think is a good thing. I think is a good thing, right? But it is the main thing that you get from a mission is you develop your relationship with your Heavenly Father.
Love that, man.
I remember being down there, and my earthly father, my temporal father, who's passed now, his name was Wes Addams. He was really afraid for me to go because at the time Mexico was, the Man on Fire had just come out, and there was a lot of Americans being abducted and things of that nature. And you just have faith, and he was concerned. And I remember being down there and really struggling and having a hard time, and there's nobody to call. You hit your knees and you ask that's your Father. I'm of the proclivity that God lives and that He's my Father, right?
Absolutely.
And so you call home. You hit your knees and you call home, right? Which is not
that, man.
Today. There's this digital age. You get in touch. And so it really helps you develop your relationship with your Heavenly Father and rely heavily upon your the Savior and get your succor that way.
Man, that's awesome, man. I appreciate you saying that. And I know it had to help you with the company now with BEX just to go through that just mentally. It's just one more thing that it seems like you went through that's going to help.
One thing about it is one thing I never shy away from. And I never will. BEX doesn't exist without the blessings from Heavenly Father. I'm going to tell you that.
Absolutely.
And if you're not of that, faith-driven, proclivity or that nature or that belief system, that's okay. I am. And what I know is that in the earliest days of BEX, when we started retail distribution in 2012. Our products were as good as I knew how to make them. And I was still learning, and we couldn't have hired anybody that knew more than I did. So, I remember hitting my knees every night and asking Heavenly Father that if our customers would be patient with us, that we would fulfill on our obligation to deliver the product that they deserve and more than that. And I will never forget that. I will never forget how that process and how difficult and how painstakingly challenging it was. And the only thing, in my opinion, in my belief, and I have faith that the only thing that bridged that gap was my Heavenly Father. And the only reason why I say that is because if you looked around, there was nothing else. There was no money, there was no team, there was no experience, there was nothing other than something that you can't explain that was pushing that forward. And I know that was him.
I love that, man, so much. We believe the same. And I love how you're praying for your customers just to give you just a little bit longer, And what a selfish prayer, you're praying for them, which is so strong. And I think it's so important. I appreciate you so much saying that people see the BEX brand or they see Rookie of the Year, PRCA. They don't know that part of you. And I think that's so important. And there's a lot of us out there that do that, but you saying it is important for them to hear. It's the way I start my morning, and I loved how you did that for your customers. And that's awesome, man. That's awesome. So I guess it's dadgum. I just want to keep talking, but we're coming up on another break. It's going so fast. So we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk all about BEX Sunglasses and what's next and how you find them and talk about some of the retailers. So we'll be right back on the Cowboy Entrepreneur Show.
Thank you for listening to the Cowboy Entrepreneur Show. Scott will be right back with more. For more information on Scott Knudsen, the Cowboy Entrepreneur, visit us online at cowboyentrepreneur.com.
Hi, I'm Scott Knudsen, host of the Cowboy Entrepreneur Show, heard on KCAA Fridays, 3 p.m. Pacific. I'd like to talk to you about something I'm very passionate about. Those that know me know I love my coffee. In the morning, afternoon, and even late in the evening, I enjoy a good cup of coffee almost any time of the day. Now, my team at the Cowboy Entrepreneur Show has been working for several months on creating and introducing our own brand of coffee. We wanted to make sure that we got it just right. We don't want to put our name on anything unless we're 100% certain that it's the best product available, and we've finally done it. We have created a wonderful line of coffees, 13 fantastic flavors offered in whole bean, ground, and K-Cups, any way you like to brew your coffee. Now, each of our coffees carries our brand, the very same brand that we put on our horses, our trailers, and our chaps. So you know that this is a quality product. And we only use 100% Arabica beans, the very best beans available. Just listen to some of these wonderful blends and flavors. Jamaican Me Crazy, Honduran San Marcos, Chocolate Cherry Amaretto, Breakfast Blend, and my very favorite, Haley's Blend. A coffee so good, we named it after my daughter. You can order these coffees today by going online to javacowboy.com. That's javacowboy.com. And if you order today, you can get an extra 10% off your final purchase just by entering the promo code COWBOY on checkout. Remember, that's promo code COWBOY for an extra 10% off. Just go to javacowboy.com to order your coffee today. Hello, I'm Scott Knudsen, host of the Cowboy Entrepreneur Show. I want to tell you about a product I've tried and I love, and I feel the Cowboy Entrepreneur audience will as well. It's Rebellious Infusions. Rebellious Infusions, there are little packets of flavor. And you know, it gets hot in South Texas, over 100 degrees every day. And I like my water, but it's water. So I use these infusions, put them in my water. It makes it cold. It's great flavor, 0 sugar, 0 calories. It's pure energy infusions. Rebellious Infusions. Go to drinkrebellious.com or on all social media platforms. Drink Rebellious. Hi, and welcome back to the Cowboy Entrepreneur Show. I'm your host, Scott Knudsen, here with Jason Addams, president and founder of BEX Sunglasses. So let's talk sunglasses. So do you remember the first pair of sunglasses under the BEX logo or the BEX brand?
Yes, they were terrible. They were so
bad. They served its purpose. What happened?
At the time, not having any experience to speak of and not having a network, I had just taken on my own volition to go out to Italy. I had contacted some factories from Italy and I had these ideas of making these really nice titanium sunglasses, right? And we, long story short, paid them, waited for these samples, sent them the designs, and those designs back then, they were all drawn when I was rodeoing. I would keep a notepad of all of these different designs. And so it came time to have these made, and the samples showed up. My whole family's in the kitchen. I had gotten everyone together, and I said, hey, come check this out. It's going to be awesome. And we opened these things, and they were so bad. They were just, I mean, you would set them on the table and they would almost just like fold flat. The material was not a titanium, not at all. It was just it looked like titanium, but it was like a lot more pliable than that, right? It was a lot softer. And so,
Oh,
yeah, so the first ones were not good, but you know what? We stayed with it. We stayed with it and just kept working hard. I turned my efforts to China at that point, working hard over there.
wow. So bless your heart, man. So what was that like when you get your family over there
It was embarrassing. It was
yeah,
so embarrassing, man.
yeah,
They love me, right? And we
yeah,
love each other. We're
sure.
really close, but it was talk about having an egg on your face. I felt like the whole carton had just, and I was upset. Like I was mad. I was
Yeah,
furious. I was
sure.
just not to the point where, I wanted to call the factory, which I probably did. But my wife and I had just gotten married, and I bet we had 600 $600 in our account, right? $700 in our account, and half of that probably goes to these samples, if not more. And so it was just at that moment where my pride was like, I can't settle like this is not, this is untenable.
Yeah.
We need to, can be better. And so I think at that point you could have easily went the other way and been like, oh, this is going to be difficult. Let's just forget about it.
Yeah.
But I went the other way. I dug in more and I said, no, I'm not, this is not the way this story ends.
Love that, man. I love how you controlled your destiny, or you had an influence in it. So what was next? So I know you changed manufacturers. What about the design? So you're designing them at the rodeo.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's cool. So you got Chris Ledoux writing country songs back in the day at the rodeo, and you're designing sunglasses at the rodeo. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. What was next was just pursuing, just I was in pursuit to make this thing happen. I knew from the beginning that we had to craft the brand in a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
And luckily I was one of those guys that was competing at a high level. And so I was able to really uh, get a feel for the landscape, who was wearing what, why they were wearing these things. And so we had to find a way to make the brand cool, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you do everything that you can to kind of craft this brand. You do a lot of that through product. You do a lot of that through messaging, through visual aesthetics and these types of things. But a brand it has a personality of its own, right? And
Yeah.
so that was next. Is we just hit the ground running hard to build this brand.
I love that. I love that. And I love it stands for the hardworking American cowboy. I read that somewhere. And I love the product test, and you were looking for the right look, but it has to work. It has to be comfortable and handle what cowboys go through on a daily basis, which is tough.
You know what? It's funny. It's funny that you say that because one of the things that we always there's a couple things I'll say around the office, and if you had the rest of our team here with us at the moment, they would probably just laugh because they hear it so much. And I think of eyewear as a tool. Now, in the early days of BEX, when it wasn't just me designing product, when we started to be able to bring outside influence in,
Mm-hmm.
that was a challenging job, and there was a lot of dissension at times because the mantra was, hey, it needs to be as light as possible. We want to use the lightweight titaniums, we want to use beta titanium, we want to use all of these different materials that by nature are durable to a point, but using them the way that they were pretty rigid. They weren't really flexible, for
Gotcha.
lack of a better term. And so it was a challenge. These designers would look at me. I'd say, hey, it has to be as light as anything you've ever seen, but it also has to be twice as tough.
Yeah.
And they would look at me just with this stupor of thought, and I would say, guys, that's the job. That's what we have to try to accomplish. And so
Yeah.
there's been this fanaticism with trying to accomplish that. And again, we still don't have it all the way figured out, but we're trying hard. But me personally, on a personal level, I always talk to our designers. I think of these things as a tool. And I
Mm-hmm.
always bring up I always bring up there's this place in Nevada called Nyola. And Nyola is the windiest, hottest, most desolate place you'll ever see. I mean, it's the type of terrain that they would film these Westerns in. And there's no, that's out there by Area 51 where the aliens and Rachel, Nevada and all this stuff. And it is, there's not a more miserable place on the earth. I'm just going to tell you that in terms of being out there. No, it's just a hard place, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But we have some friends that raise cattle out there, and they'll invite you out there. And I don't go much anymore, right? You kids and everything, but it's 100 miles from anywhere. You bring your bedroll, you have your stock trailers, and the wind blows so hard and it's so dusty, and you're driving cattle, 50 miles, right? And so when you think of it that way, and I always bring this up to our team, and not all of them are cowboys or cowgirls. Yeah, we have people from New York, we have people from Southern California, right? But I try and help them catch the vision of who our customer is and what these sunglasses are used for, right? And so when you're out there, besides your horse and maybe besides your canteen, your number one tool is your sunglasses.
Yeah.
And in a perfect world, people would be using their cloths and their pouches and things to wipe these off, like everyone asks you to. But they're using their denim jacket. They're using their chinks. They're using their whatever they can get their hands on. Sometimes there's maybe the horse's mane to wipe these things off because it's so dusty. And so when you look at it that aspect, it's a tool. And I tell her, and I discuss with our team about that all the time. It's like, hey, these are a tool. They need to be reliable. They need to be durable. They need to hold up. And by goodness, they need to be better.
Yeah, I love that. Even your gloves, you're working out with the gloves on, man. You just try and do that to get the dust off, so that's awesome. So I bet it's fun sitting in the room with people from New York that maybe don't understand the culture yet. And then people that do, and having them talk about what are the best pair of sunglasses. Is that not just the coolest thing?
There's a lot of disagreements. I'll tell you that. There's a lot of differences of perception on what the product needs to be. Right. Mm-hmm. I know our customer. I am our customer. Yeah. I might be dressed different than our customer right now if I'm in the city or whatever. If I'm traveling, but I am our customer through and through. And the hard thing is with these team members like you're talking about is it's fine if your background is different, if your political affiliation is different, that's no problem. We'll check those things at the door. But what matters is when you walk in the BEX offices, can you understand our customer? Can you understand the vision that we're trying to accomplish? And can you jump in the boat and are you okay with rowing it in the same direction? Because if you are, we'd love to have you. But if not, don't bother.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. Maybe there's a field trip out there with some sleeping rolls out there, That'll get everybody on the same page.
Yeah.
They'll understand the vision then, for sure.
I wish we could make Nyola our permanent testing ground, right? Every time we have a new product, just set it out there for a couple weeks.
It'd be perfect. It would be perfect.
That's it.
Yeah. And, something else with our culture that, you and I are both so blessed to be in and with the sunglasses. So, with cowboys, there's the crackers and the buckaroos and the western, the vaqueros. Everybody's different because of the culture, the landscape, and the weather. How do you do that with sunglasses? Because up north, you got more ice. Down south, it's 118. Is it one sunglass for all, or do you have different ones, or how does that work?
That's a great question. There is each material is affected differently. The weather, believe it or not, will affect a material that is used in a frame differently, and so it's a case by case basis. We always seek for the most durable, highest quality materials we can find, and a lot of times we pay more for that, and that a lot of these bigger brands that are more well known, they're not using. Because maybe they don't have to, or they don't feel like they have to. Again, that's not my area. That's not my domain. All I can focus on is what we're doing here at BEX, right?
Right, sure.
There is, and the other component to that is the technical aspect of it. Mm-hmm. We could talk a lot more about the technology and the features, that are within that our products are made from. But
Mm-hmm.
people over the years, what we've learned is people don't want to hear that.
No.
They don't. It's a very aesthetic driven society today, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so
Mm-hmm.
we still have all of that technology, and that's important to me. All of the all of
Right.
the blue light and the UV and all of the protection that comes from the materials that we use. But as far as the customer, they want it to look good. They want it to look good. They want it to perform.
See, that's awesome. And as a consumer, when you buy that pair of glasses, you want it to, like you say, look good for sure, perform at a high level, which BEX does, and let you worry about all the details. You just,
Right.
And that once a transaction happens, I'm happy. It looks good and it's going to work. And I
Yeah.
love y'all do all the field test and you have those meetings and even if there are little cantankerous, at the end of the day, it's a great, great product.
Yeah, and you know what? It's getting better all the time. And I tend to focus a lot more on the areas of improvement than I do on what we've been able to accomplish thus far. And that's not just lip service. I think if you were to walk in the office, they would all tell you, to the point where I don't know that we celebrate the wins enough, you know. But that's something where on a personal level, I'm just always trying to get to that next level. How do we get the product here? How do we improve this? How do we improve that? How can we make them more reliable? How can we make them more durable? Because for me, the sale or the transaction is just the start of it.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm different, and maybe it will be debilitating for me down the road. Maybe that's what will prevent us from being $1 billion company one day, is that I'm a little bit too focused on what we can do to improve rather than just selling.
I'm going to
But
bet on the opposite. I'm going to say it's going to be successful because you did it as a team roper. You were successful, you rebuilt, and then you became super successful. And that's exactly the same pattern you're doing here.
Well, I appreciate that. We have some really cool things coming. I mean, we have been working so dang hard, just trying to put these pieces together. Things that have been in the pipeline for 7, 8, 9, 10 years. First it was the vending machines, and we launched those, and then there's always something, right? There's always something. Just because we're small and we're pushing, we want to be the next one up. So.
I love that. So what's something that maybe you can share that's new, that's coming up, that's not prepared, that you don't want to tell yet? What's something you could share, like, this is really cool? Because it is a cool brand. Your social media is so strong. Meeting some of your employees and your coworkers is so great. What's something else that you can get everybody behind you?
So we developed 4 styles in 2021 just because of, that we were dealing with a lot of just different internal transitions, and then we were focusing on really going down and cultivating the foundation of the brand and rebuilding that, more durability within our products, a more broad product line. And again, everything that we do is custom. We own the tooling. It's all designed from a flat sheet of paper, right? We start with nothing. Fit. And so in 2022, we are developing 25 new styles. So it just gives you an idea on how much we've really turned it up. And we've just been working hard. And I'll tell you what, the thing that we're going to launch at NFR this year is something. It's a kind of a special project we've been working on for a real long time, and it's special to me. And our internal name for it is the BEX Universal Nose Pad System, right? But I think it's okay to come out and say it now. This isn't something I certainly was scripted to, but what's cool about this Universal Nose Pad System is now, for every product that we design now going forward, not only are all of the nose pads, because we have removable nose pads on 90% of our products. The reason for that is so that you can clean them up, you can make them look brand new. And then with a new set of nose pads, you can just switch them out real quick, and then those feel brand new, right? It just kind of keeps the longevity of it going. But this new system, it always has an extra pair built into the design language of the sunglasses themselves. Incredible. So every sunglass will have a nose pad here, but now it has them in the temples as well. And so it's just a system. So The cool thing about that, it was a lot of work. It sounds
Yeah.
so simple, but it was a lot of work to just dig in and get this accomplished. We're on the downhill side of it now. As a matter of fact, the first sunglasses that are launching this nose pad system are already in production, and we
Awesome.
expect them to be here for NFR. So,
Man, that's really cool. We're going to be at NFR, so I can't wait to meet up with y'all and do some things. So real quick, we're running out of time, and I'm just enjoying this visit so much. So where can people find BEX Sunglasses? What's the easiest way for people to find you?
we have some great retail partners, right? We have great partners. Boot Barn carries. They only select locations carry the eyewear, but you can find the baseball caps at any of the locations. Cavender's down in Texas, and I think they're in Arkansas. They have one in Colorado, and they're growing pretty. They sell the eyewear.
Oh.
NRS does a great job, in all of their locations and their catalog. So those are some of the places that are, I'm sure I'm leaving some amazing customers out, amazing partners out. But if they don't have them, ask them if they're ever going to have them, if they plan on having them. And if not, you can find them at BEXSunglasses.com. We have a few partners that carry them on Amazon. So they're out there. They're out there. One of the things we have at the sunglass at the website is you can try them on virtually. So with your camera phone or with your computer, you can try them on if you don't live in an area where one of our retail partners are carrying the brand or something. But you know what? I try and drive as much traffic to our retail partners as possible. They do a great job. Honestly, we talk about brand, but they've done a great job.
You have great
Murdoch's in the
partners,
Northwest,
man. I knew everyone you mentioned, and they're great retail partners. And unfortunately, sometimes you're just too far away to get to one of them, and they're expanding so fast as well. Hopefully, they'll be around somebody. But also, your social media is great. Your different ones following BEX and seeing what's up there too. So I encourage everyone to follow.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. And if you're in the Northwest, you have Murdoch's, you have Coastal, you have the big R's, you have IFA. There's just a lot, and they all do such a terrific job, right? And I'm sure I left somebody out that is undoubtedly very, very important to us and something we're forever grateful for. So.
Well, it's not your fault, Jason. It's mine for asking the question, but I think it's important for everybody to know where to go get them, because after they see the show, they're going to want to support you and also just get a great pair of sunglasses that's going to work for them. But man, I appreciate you so much being on the Cowboy Entrepreneur Show, and love what you stand for. And I love the sunglasses and BEX for sure.
Hey, thank you very much. Appreciate it, Scott.
Absolutely, Jason. Thank you. And thank you, everyone, for watching the Cowboy Entrepreneur Show or listening to us on KCAA, our great NBC affiliate.
Thank you to all the great sponsors of the Cowboy Entrepreneur Show. If you or your business is interested in being a sponsor of the Cowboy Entrepreneur Show, please call our office at 830-992-1786 or visit our website, cowboyentrepreneur.com.
The legends you love and the best talk. Your ProLogic Radio Mindspring.
Did you know fixing outdoor leaks can save 27 to 90 gallons of water per day? Even tiny leaks can be huge water wasters. Conserving water starts with a few simple water-saving actions at home and in your yard, like adjusting your sprinklers and adding drip irrigation so you water only where it's needed. We can all do our part to conserve water. Visit SaveOurWater.com for more water-saving tips. Save water, save California.
Now, here's a new concept: digital network advertising, where businesses display your ad inside their building. If a picture's worth 1,000 words, your company is going to thrive with digital network advertising. Choose your marketing sites or jump on the DNA system and advertise with all participants. Your business ad or logo is rotated multiple times an hour inside local businesses where people will discover your company. Digital network advertising, DNA, a novel way to be seen and remembered. Digital network advertising with networks in Redlands and Yucaipa. Call in the 909 area 222-9293 for introductory pricing. That's 909-222-9293 for digital network advertising. One last time, digital network advertising.